Welcome back, guys. This is Maverick here with our weekly episode of Sangatsu no Lion. In the last episode, we pretty much confirmed that Hina is being bullied. We got all the circumstances out, and Ray obviously feels a sense of closeness to Hina here, right? He was also bullied himself, and whether he's of course, him being this sort of kind guy, a nice guy, and all of that, he's going to feel very sorry for Hina already. But having a personal experience in this matter probably aggravates things a little bit more. And last episode, I also talked a little bit about how, from experience, how these things can normally resolve themselves. Now, my thinking right now is still that Hina is going to have to earn the respect and get accepted with the school at large or classmates at large in order to sort of turn around the situation. It's kind of unfair, right? She's not really doing anything that's wrong or whatnot, but that's just the way life goes, right? Now, my gut feeling is that Hina is going to do something related with Shogi, but it's also possible that it's going in an entirely different direction, right? So, in any case, let's jump right into the episode and see what's up for this week. Alrighty, we start with the opening this time, so let's skip it and begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Moi. Huh. I mean, in a sense, it could be. See, this is more akin to the type of this is more the type of bullying, if you will, that I'm more familiar with. They don't actually go to the same school, though, do they? Oh, he's just looking for advice. I see. Yeah, he's looking for advice. Quit with the noises, man. Yeah, it's a very complicated situation. I like it. This series is handling this situation in a very mature way. Yeah, I really like this. They're handling this in a really mature way. Mm. Yeah. See, but that actually places the burden on the victim themselves, right? This boils back down to, can you stand up to yourself, right? Which is not always the case. Come on, dude. A straight question? No, it wasn't a straight question. Home tutoring. He wants to pay for her home tutoring? The earnings. Wow. I still think his first advice was the best, right? You know, ask Hina first, like what exactly does she want? Because, you know, I doubt that Hina would actually want to be home tutored. What's with the confession? Alright. Oh, he lost. Yeah, he's definitely going about this in a very twisted kind of way. Oh, that's pretty nice dialogue there. But hey, if it fires him up, so be it. Some extra motivation. That does sound pretty cheap. Wow. That is super cheap.
大丈夫ですよ。全然。
He's gonna collapse in 3, 2, 1. うん。
心配になるわ。今何キロ？体重ですか。52キロですけど。あかりさん。ちょっと待って。
What?
桐山くん、ありがとね。じゃあ。
Oh, she needs to.
何言ってんのよ。上がってよ。いえ、でも僕。
She's gonna fatten him up.
なんか怒ってるみたいだし。何言ってるのよ。この大量の野菜の下ごしらえ、全部私一人にやらせるつもり？手伝って。はい。はい。じゃあまず玉ねぎの外の皮全部剥いちゃって。その後はさやいんげんの筋取り。やったことある？あります。大丈夫です。ダメだな。私は。
お前は何一つ間違っちゃいねえ。友達を助けたんだ。
Oh.
胸を張れ。
He's probably sad that she couldn't have said those words. うん。
お姉ちゃん、私どうすればよかったの？あの時、躊躇してしまった。ひなにあんな風に言ってあげられなかった。それどころか、どうしてなのって。なんでもっと早く話してくれなかったの？なんでもっとうまいことできなかったのって。なんでなのって。あかりさん。
I kind of get this perspective as well.
それは俺だってそう思うさ。他人の家の子より自分の家の子の安全を考えちまう。それ当たり前だ。みんなそうだ。でもな、考えてみろ。ひなは何か悪いことしたか？してねえだろ。ひなはもう十分苦しんでる。それなのに俺たちがこの上どうしてそんなことをしたんだなんて言っちまったら、ひなは本当に居場所を失ってしまうだろう。何より次は自分がやられることになるかもしれないって思いながらも、それでも友達のそばを離れなかったひなの勇気とか正義を褒めてやるべきじゃねえのか？
うん。
母が死んでからは、私がひなと桃の母親の代わりだった。私は19歳でわからないことだらけだった。でも母に頼まれたの。
So they're about 6 years apart?
必死に頑張った。
Oh no, she's actually still. Wow. She's still an elementary school student.
周りのこともちゃんと考えなさい。
Oh, maybe even more, like 8 years or something.
偉そうなこと言い続けてきておいて、いざとなったらこのありさま。正義なんてどうでもいいから逃げて欲しかったって思ってしまった。
Understandable.
友達のために精一杯頑張ってるのに、私は。あかりさん、それは違います。当たり前のことです。家族に辛い目にあっ
ちゃんを一番そばで見守ってきたのはあかりさんなんですから。僕は小さい頃からずっと孤立してきました。でも救いの手なんてそんな恐ろしくて申し訳ないもの誰にも望めなかった。でもあの日ひなちゃんは怖いって言いながらも後悔しない、間違ってないって言い切ったんです。まるで自分に言い聞かせるみたいに。あの時僕が助けてもらったんだと思いました。ひなちゃんは僕の恩人だと。だからひなちゃんをこんな勇気のある子に育ててくれたあかりさんも僕にとっては恩人なんです。
I mean, even beyond that, she literally saved you by bringing into the family, right? I feel like it goes just a little bit more.
晩ご飯カレーでいい？たくさん作んないと。
Curry. Because potatoes, onions.
ほら待てもも、靴を脱げよら。じっとしてろ。
姉ちゃんだ。
なんだ坊主、今日もいんのか。来すぎじゃねえか。
ですよね、帰ります。
もうおじいちゃん。
真に受けんなバカ野郎。めんどくせえ。食ってけ食ってけ。
そうよ桐山くん。
すみません。
謝んなって。俺が悪者みてえな。
Oh.
ボール当てゲームで撮ったの。レイちゃんに似てるなって思って。子供っぽいかなって思ったんだけど。
いや、嬉しい。すっごく嬉しい。
はーい、手を洗って。ご飯ができたよ。
And all is well in the household. Okay. Well, see you guys after this. Alrighty, so we continue on with this story arc with Hina, and it seems that this is not going to be going away anytime soon. It's not going to be resolved anytime soon. It might turn out to be a sort of bigger underlying backstory to this season or the series than I originally anticipated. And I gotta say, so up to now, especially for this episode, I really like the way that they handled the entire situation, right? I went at length in the last episode on my thoughts on this, and you know, it's exactly as was portrayed in this episode as well. It's a very complicated situation. What you shouldn't do, and what's definitely not recommended, is to immediately try and escalate the situation, because you're not going to accomplish anything by doing that. That's just going to worsen the situation, and you know, the victims are still going to be victimized no matter what. And in fact, it might even turn into you know, by turning it into an even more public event, it might even have far-lasting consequences as the years go on as well, right? So I gotta give them props for being realistic about this whole thing. And again, you know, I love that they also mentioned that, okay, so the other teacher, you know, she decided to basically play a more passive role and ignore the entire situation, and they also acknowledged that there's a reasoning to that as well. Now, they didn't went in and specifically explain why they the teacher decided to choose this kind of method. I think more than not, the fact that there's no correct answer is also I guess the kind of feeling that, number one, you might do things to worsen the situation, and that is also something of high probability as well. And number two, as I mentioned in the last episode, these things generally go away with time, right? People who are childish, people who are prone to this kind of things, it's all going to disappear once you grow up and go through the various stages of school and education, right? But of course, saying that there is something that you want to do, at least emotional support and whatnot, I absolutely agree with that part. They also mentioned something. One of the methods that was mentioned was for Hina actually to stand up for herself, right? Say stop it. While I do agree with the concept overall, I don't think it really portrays the Hina situation here. Absolutely, if you were someone who looked weak and looked like you could be bullied and whatnot, and people were picking on you, bullies were picking on you, then absolutely, being able to stand up for yourself and let the bullies know that you're not exactly weak prey, that is one of the most effective methods at stopping this. However, there's two things wrong with this with this solution right here. Number one, and I guess this is isn't exactly a problem per se, but it's more of a overall kind of how should I say it? General expectation, right? I already mentioned before that one thing that we shouldn't try to do is blame the victims, even though that does seem to be, it is. I think maybe underneath everything, we do to a certain extent sort of blame the victims. I know I certainly do, right? I'm not exactly proud of it, but sometimes some things just happen and you basically think, why do you have to be and so annoying, or why do you have to go and do something to worsen the situation, right? Because a lot of times these things aren't completely out of how can I say it? A lot of times these things aren't exactly out of the blue, right? There are these kinds of cases as well, but more often than not, it's something, particularly the way that you carry yourself, the way that your normal behavior, your day-to-day life, and some things of this all constitute why people would want to pick on you or bully you, right? And of course, it would be obvious to say, hey, just stand up for yourself and then the problem will go away. Sure. But at the same time, that is expecting, at the end of the day, the victims to do something about it. And that's not entirely going to be a 100% solution here, right? So that's one of the problems with this kind of solution. And the second one, and more related with Hina's specific situation, is, if it was her friend that was the one being bullied, and the teacher gave out this kind of advice, I could see it kind of working, right? Being able to stand up, saying, stop it, I really don't like the way that you're doing this. What have I done for me to deserve this? This kind of thing. If Hina's friend had said it, I think that might have been a bit more useful, right? Because she was bullied. We didn't really see the entirety of the reasoning or whatnot, but more or less at random, right? Or at least more random than Hina was. Hina, on the other hand, she was targeted, directly targeted, because the group of girls were annoyed by her actions, right? Enraged, angered, or whatever you want to call it, but they specifically have a sense of, yes, I really want to bully Hina, right? So saying stop it, that's not going to help anything in this kind of situation, not when it's directly targeted at you. So I don't think that is actually a good solution for Hina at this moment. And what solution is, well, we shall see in the next few episodes, right? But like I said, I do very appreciate the fact that they're handling this situation very maturely, they're not rushing into things, and they're presenting all sides of the problem. So for that, I gotta give them big props. And then again, sorry, not again. And then the other thing that happened in this episode would be sort of, I guess, Akari's confession to the entire situation, right? And that one is also totally relatable as well. So like I said, I really like the way that they are portraying very realistically the thought processes and all the behaviors of all the characters within this episode so far. The entire way that they're handling the situation, it's just real, right? Either the author, she or he. Actually, I I actually don't know what gender the author is. Either the author really experienced it for themselves, or they got some really good consultation as to what what actually happened, what actually happens or goes on in these kinds of situations. So I really like the way that this was handled. The only thing that I would kind of and I'll say more in regards to Akari and Ray's dialogue is the fact that I totally get the way that Ray is coming from here, right? He thinks he's saved by Hina, and Akari is acting as basically a mother for Hina. So thank you for raising this child to be this. For raising this child so well, right? Like that kind of a thought process, and it totally makes sense in this sort of context, in this situation here. But I just want to quickly also say that Akari, I feel like even it's not really something comparable, but to me, I keep on feeling that Akari is maybe even more of a lifesaver to Ray than Hina was, right? Now, obviously, Hina is being victimized here, so it's not exactly something that we were supposed to compare, anyways. But I just felt like I would have liked Ray to actually mention this as well, right? Because the entire thing here that Akari was sort of getting distraught by was how come Hina was the one with the courage to stand up for her friend, and Grandpa actually acknowledged it, but Akari herself could not, right? Is it a case where she maybe does not have the same perspective of justice and whatnot? At least that's the way that I'm interpreting this situation, right? And I feel like, a way to reassure her would instead be Ray saying that, hey, you didn't really need to take me in, right? She was just working as a hostess, and the method that she met Ray in the first place, Ray wasn't really exactly in any danger or anything, right? He was just simply thrown out by, it was sort of a prank, right? By his seniors. That's the way that it was initially portrayed, and it's not even a very dangerous prank, right? And Akari bringing him and constantly inviting him back to her household, and then also having this opportunity to know her family and whatnot. I feel like she deserves a lot more credit here in terms of her sense of justice and kindness, right? And I really wish that Ray would have mentioned that part as well. So, not exactly trying to compare her with Hina here. I'm just saying that, Ray, you're already trying to comfort her. Why not mention these points as well, right? Because I feel like that's also very important, right? Being able to, being brought into this household by Akari, allowing Ray's mental state to gradually go into a good state, and the difference between season 1 and season 2, right? The sort of the feeling of warmth and color that Ray exhibits now, all that can be traced back to Akari, actually. So that's my 2 cents on this entire situation. Anyways, that's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you guys have some other interpretations of this as well. Last episode, I got a great comment in regards to other personal experiences in regards to bullying and so forth. That was really nice. And if anybody has some other interpretations or experiences to share, do let me know. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.